So please join me in welcoming Ms. Christia Donaldson. And I'm going to tell her about this wonderful person that is sitting across from me. Christia Donaldson is the founder and CEO of Thank God It's Natural. Okay, can somebody give an applause for that? Thank God I'm natural. Her products are currently sold in Target, Whole Foods, Sally Beauty, and Walgreens, and many more. In her role, yes, please clap. In her role, she oversees all aspects of day-to-day operations in sales and strategic partnership. Christia has been featured in major media publications such as USA Today, Marie Claire, Essence, Black Enterprise, Ebony, Chicago Tribune, and she has also published a book, which I would definitely advise y'all to go read. Thank God I'm Natural, the ultimate guide to caring for natural hair, which has been the #1 Amazon seller. And prior to starting her company, Christia represented Fortune 500 companies in complex business transactions. She earned her BA at Harvard University, where she also attended law school. So please join me in welcoming the wonderful Christia. So today we're just going to have a conversation, right?
So, Fanuel, like she said, this is a total safe space. So, like, what happens in Tishman Auditorium stays in, I guess, Tishman Auditorium. But a little bit of housekeeping. So, once I wanted to say thank you so much for having me here today. This is so inspiring to see this conference and affecting so many Black and brown people excited about the possibility of going to law school. So, thank you, Fanuel, for that wonderful introduction. Also, I want to say special thanks to my team. They're here with me today, and they told me we're actually giving away products to 3 women or men who post the best Insta story or Insta advice from this presentation with the hashtag, is it Black Pre-Law Conference?
Yes.
So yeah, feel free to do your own little thing on Instagram, whoever gives the best advice from this session between us or anyone in the audience. We're going to announce at the end of the session who's won three prizes.
So let me walk you through how we're going to have this conversation. We're going to talk about Christia's career, and we'll delve into how, career and identity. And I want you guys to, at the end of this conversation, we'll open the mic so that you guys can also have questions. But I want you to pull in with, be one with, okay? So almost 20 years ago, you were in the same position as many of the aspiring attorneys who are here today, sitting in the audience. Can you tell us how you decided to go to law school?
So 20 years ago was 1998. I think that was actually the year that Google was founded. Google was founded in 98. I think YouTube was founded in 2005, and Facebook may have founded in 2002. So the world was a completely different place when it became to being a Black woman or a Black man or a woman of color in the workplace or in college. And so the situation was such, I was in my, junior year of college, and I had originally wanted to go to law school when I was a freshman, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to get these good grades, whatever, and I said, you know what, let the chips fall where they may. I'm just going to do school, and we'll see where I end up at the end of my 3 or 4 years here. And so junior year, we keeping it real. Like I said, it was only in the room. I was dating this guy at Morehouse, and we knew each other from high school. And I flew down there, and he was studying for the LSAT. And I was like, oh, okay. I went to a little LSAT class and did a little logic game. I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I need to get, my LSAT situation together. So I went back up to Boston, and I signed up for an LSAT class. And it was kind of like a Legally Blonde moment where it was like I ended up getting to Harvard, he ended up getting into Harvard. And so that was kind of how I went to law school. It was kind of for a boy, but it was also, I had a little dream for myself of being a lawyer. But I know a lot of people in the room may ask, like, did you have any lawyers in your family? Or did you grow up knowing you wanted to be a lawyer? I didn't. The only lawyer I think I really knew was Claire Huff. Huxtable from the Cosby Show, and I don't know if you guys remember that show from the 80s, but it was like, you know, Heathcliff Huxtable was a doctor, she was a lawyer, so it was like, I looked up to this woman on television, but it wasn't like I had the opportunity to shadow anyone and go into a courtroom or see what an M&A lawyer does. I just knew lawyers were the people that helped people who were in bad predicaments, and so I didn't have the same level of exposure that you guys are getting today, or even the internet, to be able to go out and research what a lawyer actually did.
Wow. So, okay, we're gonna move up a little bit. So, you graduated. You have a job, okay? Now you're working for one of the top law firms in the country. Can you tell us, now we're asking you to really keep it, like we're gonna go deep. Walk us through that time that you're working at that law firm. What does it look like? What does it
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
And what are some of the challenges?
So, graduated from Harvard in 2003 from law school, and I started working at a law firm in Chicago where Barack and Michelle Obama met. So that kind of tells you the level of prestige that associated with this law firm. And so I decided that I wanted to do business law. So I wanted to go into the corporate group, but people kept telling me, like in my summer clerkship, don't go into the corporate group because they ain't good to black people. Meaning like a woman had just made partner, and then a black woman was like the first black woman to make partner, and then she left like a week later. So people were like, you know, there's some issues as it relates to that, and it's just an old boys network. You're not going to do well there. And I always had this attitude, like, I'm from Detroit. You can't tell me jack. I'm being PG rated because you guys are in the room. You can't tell me jack. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to go into this corporate group. I'm going to turn this thing upside down, and I'm going to work my butt off. No one can outwork me, and I'm going to make partner. And so the funny thing is, you know, that was my attitude, that was my work ethic, and literally, you know, I was out of my depth. One, I was arrogant. I should have been a little bit more humble. But not only I worked hard, but the issue was that the law, particularly when you work in big law, people have to want to mentor you and take you under their wing. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. And you need someone along the way who's going to tell you what mistakes you were making. And so in my situation, I did not have that mentor who took me under their wing. I had a firm mentor, the person they assigned you to, but I didn't have that person who was really rooting for me. So at my first job, I was making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes when you come out of law school. You don't know what you're doing, particularly when it comes to, like I said, being in a large law firm. But the difference between people of color and the general population, that gentleman was talking about, the 76% of law firm partners in the big law firms here in New York are white men, is that they have people covering up their mistakes. So it's the kind of thing, you can be just as smart, even more credentialed, but if they are not giving you the feedback that you need to do better and to advance, then you get your first year review and they tell you you're mediocre, and then the next year review, they're like, we don't see much opportunity here for you. So that's kind of the real deal. All large law firms are not like that, but I wish someone would have told me going in that that was the game and that was how you had to play it, or how to play it rather.
So now I'm pretty sure that some people in the audience are asking, now that you've mentioned a key word, mentor. What advice do you have for somebody? First of all, I'm there asking, like, how do I get one, right? Where do I find one? So I'm asking you, like, how does one go about finding somebody that can mentor them, especially at this age?
Right, so that's a good question. So at this stage, I mean, it starts by taking the first step like you all have done and coming to conferences like this and meeting the successful panelists, getting their business cards, following up, LinkedIning them, not stalking them, but LinkedIning them, saying it was great to meet you, and then just seeing like if your paths cross, or, you know, saying, hey, this is where I'm in the process, just wanted to let you know. I got into these schools, just kind of building these relationships along the way. Relationships is another thing, and I'll keep going back to this mentor thing, but relationships are critical in your career, whether you end up in business, law, government, public practice, what have you, and that was something people didn't tell me. But in terms of mentorship, like I said, that's kind of where you guys are. It's just kind of go to these conferences and just kind of seek people out, keep them apprised and say maybe, hey, can I take you to coffee? I just have some questions. Come with questions, do your research, what have you. But don't walk up to someone and be like, can you be my mentor? That's not how it's played. And then when you get into a large law firm setting, again, it's just being humble, but not being like, you're grateful to be there, but sometimes as Black people, it's like, no, I belong here. Like, I deserve to be here. You didn't, like, just give me the opportunity. I went to 2 of the top law schools, and, I write well, I have great analytical abilities, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, seeking out those relationships along the way. And like I said, in a law firm setting, it might be people who work there, but it could also be people that you meet in your bar association, Black Women's Law Association, on LinkedIn, what have you. And then in addition to mentorship, I tell people, they say you need a mentor, a sponsor, and a coach. And I would add one other thing to that, you need a tribe. And so a mentor, they say, is the person who kind of talks with you. A coach is the person who kind of talks to you, and the sponsor is the person who talks about you. And when I say talks about you, meaning in your career, particularly when you get to the higher levels, you need someone who's going to bat in those rooms that you don't have a seat at the table. And then on top of that, I tell people you need a tribe. And that's critical, meaning like sometimes we're so busy chasing these mentors, which are important, but you need to look at the people who are sitting to your left and to your right, like we're in church. And this is your tribe, the people you are in school with, the people who you are like in this program with. These are the people where you guys have to kind of be in this together, because we are up against a lot just because of the way we look. And like I said, the people who are here with you today will also help you in your career along the way, but we don't necessarily hear people preaching that message. We're always looking for, can I get in front of the CEO? Can I get in front of this partner? Can I get in front of that 5th-year associate? Talk to the person who's, at that other university and just seeing, how are you doing on your LSAT? That type of thing. What test prep are you doing? Did you get your results back? Like, did you hear from this? What did you think of that admissions counselor? So use those people in your network as well.
So you are at your firm, and you speak about this in your book, which I'm going to hear you to talk about. So an incident, because of some of the pressure that you were feeling, that led to an incident that had you fired. Can you tell the audience, or can you talk about it?
So basically, it kind of touches on the reason I started this company called Thank God It's Natural. All came from essentially being a lawyer. And when I graduated from law school, I was in the midst of transitioning. And like I said, this was before Instagram and Facebook, and you could go on all these hair blogs and see girls doing their hair on YouTube. And I was in my 3rd year of law school, and the world was like, we would be in programs like this with Sponsors of Educational Opportunity, a great organization. They would be like, no braids, no locks, no teeny weeny afro. You get your hair permed or straightened or flat iron, whatever. It wasn't flat iron back then. It was like curled and blow dried, or blow dried and curled. And this is how you need to look in order to be successful. And so when I started my first law firm job, I was wearing a wig because I was transitioning. My hair was kinky and curly. And I was like, I can't go up in this law firm with my hair looking like this, like you were talking. I was in hiding. And, I felt that in order to be successful, I had to have this polished, sophisticated bob that was straight, because that's what they were used to seeing Black women look like on television. And it backfired because I couldn't come to work and be my authentic self. I can't remember the woman that I met earlier. I don't know if it was Jasmine from Hampton. That was the question she asked about her personal statement. When you can't show up as your authentic self, it totally impacts you, whether you're applying to law school, how you're performing at a law firm, whether you're in business, what have you. It's just too much work to be working 60, 70 hours a week and then having to code switch and wear your hair a certain way and think about how these people perceive you. It's just too much additional pressure. You need to go to a place where you are valued, where you are appreciated, and people want you to be there, and you don't feel like you're there because they have to have you there.
Right. So what do you think it means to be professional? And I'm not only talking about the women in the room, because I know that some men, Black men, struggle with this. Like, do I shave? Do I have sideburns? Do I have locks? In this world, in this America, today's America, what does it mean for you, do you think, to be professional?
And even though the world is not post-racial, as they said, the world is a very different place even than it was 20 years ago, thanks to technology, thanks to Silicon Valley in terms of bringing a more casual approach to the workplace, thanks to the browning of America due to both like blacks and Latinos being, a greater percentage of the population, so people are much more used to seeing brown people. They may not be much more comfortable with brown people, but they're much more used to it. Younger kids may grow up in a more diverse society. You all may be in a more diverse society. But essentially, it's like being professional is, like I said, being your authentic self, dressing. I'm not going to say, blues, blacks, and grays. That's not the move. But the point is, wearing professional dress, being clean shaven. That doesn't mean you can't have a beard. Making sure your appearance is tight, making sure your hygiene is on point, making sure your teeth are clean, just like hair done, nails done, everything did. Like, basically it comes down to that. And then on top of that, you take care of that, and then you put your work ethic with that. You need three things. You need the presentation, the work ethic, and the relationships.
So out of this journey came this wonderful company that you've created. How has that transition played out between you being on your job as in-house counsel to caring for this baby that you've created into this empire?
So it's hilarious. I basically juggled this company with my full-time job working at Oracle as a corporate attorney for 10 years. And so we went from like 0 to 5,000 stores. We're probably in more than 5,000 stores now, while I had a full-time job, which was insane. So only last March, meaning like probably 7 months ago, did I step off the path and say, not goodbye to the law, but goodbye to the law, and now I'm a full-time businesswoman. But it has been an interesting journey, but I'll tell you a little bit about how my law degree has helped me. So the point is, just because you're sitting here today and you say, oh, I want to work, as a U.S. attorney, or oh, I want to work, as a lobbyist, or oh, I want to work as, a corporate attorney. Your law degree is very versatile. You can start off and be somewhere for 5 years and then switch paths. I have friends that are now in the movie business. I have friends that are screenwriters. I have friends that are now health lobbyists. I have friends that are now diversity consultants. A law degree doesn't have to just be, you are a practicing lawyer. You become sought out for your critical thinking skills. So for me, even though I'm not a lawyer per se, meaning I'm not practicing law, having a degree as a lawyer has helped me to have really, like I said, strong critical thinking skills, strong problem solving skills, the ability to execute and just kind of think about process. How do I get things done quickly? Strong ability to negotiate and reason with people, as well as just kind of like being ahead. Lawyers are kind of ahead of everybody else because you always have to be thinking about if X happens, then Y. If Y happens, then Z. So you have to be like 5 to 7 steps ahead of the masses. And so that's going to serve you well beyond just being a lawyer. So that's going to help you in a lot of different careers. So just be open to the journey. Just be open to the journey and don't feel like you have to figure it all out today.
So we're going to open the mics in just 1 second, just after this. But before we wrap up, before we open for Q&A, what is one advice that you would give to our wonderful aspiring attorneys sitting here today?
That's a good question. So I think the one piece of advice is focus. And in the early part of your career, hard work is critical. Hard work is critical, but don't forget the relationships. And I'm going to speak from personal experience and for a lot of my girlfriends. What I mean by that is black women, and this is a huge generalization, but I'm basing it on my friends and basing on what I've seen in the workplace and what I've done myself. And I've been a practicing attorney for 15 years. When you go to work, you may not want to hang out with these people, but you ain't got no choice. And what that means is sometimes we show up for work, we do our work, and we're kind of like, I'm here to work. or we go in our offices and close our doors and we get our work done and we're exceptional, but that mediocre person is getting the better assignments, or they're getting the mentorship, or they're getting the opportunity to do the high level important cases. And part of the reason that is because we don't view work like the high school cafeteria. Like when you come to things like this, we always talk about working twice as hard. Well, yeah, you have to do that. We've been told that since we were 5 years ago. But to play this game, you gotta be friends with the masses. You have to form these relationships, and that doesn't happen at your desk. And a lot of my girlfriends, myself included, we show up to work and we can run circles around you in terms of our writing and our negotiations, but are we doing those Starbucks coffee runs with them at 3 o'clock, or going to lunch with our colleagues or whatever? We're kind of like, okay, we work together, but we're not like, oh, do I want to? You don't have to hang out with people on the weekend, but you get what I'm saying. You have to form these relationships because they will be critical to your career.
And just to add, I'm a third year in law school, and I go to a predominantly white school, and I say that sometimes it's hard to go outside of your comfort zone and say, hey, I'm going to talk to this person or invite them to my study group. But I've found that some of these friendships that I've had actually have helped me, because some people have sent job my way that do not even look like me, or fellowship that they say, hey, Fanuel, you should apply to this, and I did, and got the fellowship. So sometimes opportunity comes from people who don't even look like you. So I would definitely encourage you, even at this level, to reach out to people who might not necessarily look like you.
And then, Fanuel, I would just say, in addition to that, about opportunities not coming from people who look like you, when you graduate from law school, you're going through like OCI, on campus interviewing, and pretty much after that, like, no one's going to show up at your door saying like, okay, here are the 20 companies or 200 companies that wants to meet with law students from your school. So again, relationships and having this tribe that we see here today, as well as those people outside of your circle, becomes critical for getting opportunities and being able to switch gears or switch jobs or what have you. So keep that in mind. Again, relationships.
All right, I know that we're running out of time, but we do have time for some questions. So if you wouldn't mind making your way to the mic. Go ahead. Can everybody stand up? Oh, sure, yes, you do have to use the mic. You can go right there. All right, you can use my mic.
Alright, so I'm gonna start off with a statement. So I was accepted into like this entrepreneurship program, and basically, it's a scholarly program, so they like make you take courses to where it helps you with starting a business. And so I found a joy in making hair products, and that's what I do. I make hair products, and I sell it out of Houston. But I recently tried to expand my brand in Columbia, Missouri, and so I went to a startup weekend in Columbia to pitch my business. There were investors there who were really interested in what I was pitching, and they decided to give me seed money to grow my hair product or my business. And so, I guess my question is how do you find the time? Because I'm going to be going to law school next year, and I don't really have the time that much anymore to really just dedicate myself to making the hair products and then focusing on law school and all of this stuff. So how do you find the time to do both of those? I love making my products. I love helping people in Houston. I love helping people in Columbia, Missouri. But I also going to law school is my journey. How do you find time to do?
No, so that's a great question. So the first thing is when it comes to entrepreneurship, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And that I'm leading with that because the advice I'm going to give you, if you do end up going to law school next year, your first year has to be like you are all in. You have to be 110% in. And so I'm never going to want to be abandon your passion. I'm not even going to say put your passion on hold, but for the investment that you are making financially, even if you get a scholarship in terms of your time, your grades your first year are so critical, particularly if you want to work at a firm. And so, again, if entrepreneurship is a marathon, not a sprint, my advice would be like, okay, you have this business. If a family member can help you, if a friend can help you, or even if you can just pull back a little and return to it your second year, because sometimes they say you have to slow down to speed up. I have a situation where I had to make a choice. So in 2016, I had breast cancer, which is crazy. And so I'm running this company, I'm working as an attorney, and now I have breast cancer. So I had to choose what I was going to do. So guess what I had? I had 3 things on my plate, and I said, I'm not going to work as an attorney anymore. I'm going to do breast cancer, and I'm going to run my company. And now that I'm better, it's like, you know, the company is thriving, my health is back to where it was, back to where it was before the diagnosis. But the point is I had to make choices. And so you have to make a choice, and I'm just letting you know based on what I know about being a lawyer in law school, if you do it, you, like I said, you have to fully commit to it. It is a sacrifice of time. It is a sacrifice of kind of like personal relationships. It's a sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice. And so my point is the hair care business may not be going anywhere. You can pick it up like 9 months later. Sorry to be so blunt. That was just my perspective. Yeah.
I would ask when you are asking the question to just introduce yourself and what school you go with.
So my name is Monielle Sanders. I'm a junior at Indiana University. And my question is, do you watch Insecure?
I don't, but my girlfriends do, and so I can kind of keep up. I know who Lawrence is, and Issa, and Molly, and I know who's having affairs, and all of that. I know what's going on, even though I don't watch it.
Okay, so you know Molly works at like a predominantly white. For real, this is like a real question. So Molly works at a predominantly white law firm. And so they're like doing her dirty and they won't give her partner. So she goes and starts shopping around for other firms. And they have this predominantly black firm that like loves her. They're gonna give her a raise and everything like that. But it still wasn't measuring up to what she would make at partner at the, you know, predominantly white firm. So my question is, should we go somewhere where we feel comfortable and make less possibly, or just go to a predominantly white firm and have to work like extra harder and like do kind of like this kind of like kissing up thing to make what we really deserve? You see my question? Like,
No, that's a hard one. So it's a personal choice. That is a very difficult question. My thing is, sometimes we're dealing with hypotheticals. Sometimes we have to, and that's a hard question, because sometimes you have to look at the choices before you, and you might say like, look, over here I'm gonna make more money, and these are the skills and transactions I'm gonna get to work on. Now let me tell you, I'm not gonna say what you will be. I was uncomfortable as hell working in these environments. And then I got to a place where I kind of liked it. And then I worked in corporate for a long time. But the skills I got, when it's time to get back and do what I do on the business side, you can't touch me. The point is, you got entrepreneurship, you got to have that kind of swag. But the point is, the skills I got from working in those crazy environments, or the challenging environments where I kind of felt weird at times, when I finally left, I left with a skill set that was so amazing. So you have to kind of balance that as well as the pay with your comfort. And that's a personal decision. And the point is, you're not going to be comfortable everywhere. Like our company right now is predominantly black. And we show up to work like in yoga pants. And sometimes I wear my little scarf under a beret. But it's still hard work. So don't think, you said you're going to work hard here. You got to work hard wherever you go. But like I said, there are trade-offs to everything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Miracle Baker. I'm from Houston, and I'm an undergrad at St. John's University. My question is, should you wear natural hair to your interview? Because I often feel the kind of backlash from wearing natural hair to like interviews or like debates and situations like that, where people don't listen to what I'm saying per se. They view my hair and then kind of are standoffish.
So when you say they're not listening to what you're saying, is it because like you're speaking and they're not able to recall what you're saying, or are you perceiving or projecting that?
It's more so where I'll be talking and they're looking directly at my hair.
so it's kind of a comfortable zone?
I would say, I mean, again, it comes down to personal decisions. A lot of us will like straighten our hair and then we'll get the job, we'll show up for straight hair and then we'll switch to natural hair. The point is, if you're going to wear it natural eventually when you get on the job, people are not going to stop staring at your hair. It's just, we're interested. Well, I'm not going to say our hair is interesting, okay? Fine, move on. The point is how you present, how you talk, what you came to talk about. Come there with the presence of like, okay, I get my hair is interesting, but I really need you to focus your attention back on what I'm saying. Here's my transcripts. Here's why I want to work here. Knock them dead with your research. Knock them dead with your presentation. Knock them dead with your knowledge of whatever it is you're talking about or whatever position that that you're interested in. I'm sure it will take the attention away from your hair. I'm in a lot of I would say a lot of white spaces as an entrepreneur throughout Chicago, talking to various people. And I wear my hair natural. Do they find it interesting? I don't care. That's not what I came here to talk about.
Thank you.
That's not what you came to talk about. Thank you. Next question.
My name is Sasha. I'm a high school senior. And I have a question for you.
Can you approach to the thing?
So, did any of the company you represented inspire you to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so my first company where they basically was like, you don't have what it takes to work here. Now, I tell people I wasn't fired. They basically were like, my boss was like, if I were you, I would start looking for another job. So I was like, they didn't call security on me, but I knew where this was headed. So the point is, after that experience, I was like, I never want to work for anyone else again. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I did not have the financial resources to make that happen immediately. So that job inspired me to want to work for myself, to be an entrepreneur. But I still had to have a job for the next 12 years, like I said, where I juggled doing both. And in the process of juggling the two, I got to be really good at negotiating. I got to be a really good listener because I did contracts and I would sit on the phone for hours. I got to be really good at just kind of like doing deals, and it ended up serving me well. But that was the inspiration, that first company telling me that I didn't have what it took. Because then I looked, I felt like devastated. But then I looked at my girlfriends who also had the same credentials as me, meaning they went to Harvard for college and Harvard for law school. And in their firms in different cities was telling them they didn't have what it took. It was just like, what is going on here? It was like the same movie with a different actress, like on a different set.
Hi, my name is Dusty Boynton. I'm an undergrad at Rutgers University. I just had a quick question. I spent a semester last fall on a research paper strictly focusing on Black women and their natural hair in the workplace. It was more in retail, not in the legal field, but we had a real in-depth discussion about a woman who is in the legal field. And she has dreads, and she feels like she can't wear those dreads, but she uses her platform in the profession to wait until she gets a promotion and then open it up for women of color in the natural hair. So would you advise for women to level up and then open the door for more women, or should we just create our own?
And when you say level up, meaning like within the organization, or create our own firms or create our own business? I think we have to have both. Even though I love entrepreneurship, because like I said, we work at a predominantly Black company owned by me now, so I don't have to deal with the stress of, the leveling up. We still need people in those spaces because those spaces impact so much of the world that we live in. It impacts who's president, it impacts who's on the Supreme Court, it impacts policy and corporate governance at Fortune 500 companies that make the products that we consume. And so we all have a part to play, and we need people on that battlefield as well on the entrepreneurship battlefield. So again, it comes down to personal choice, but we all can't run away from corporate America. Like, can't pack our bags and be like, we're all out of here. We need people there as well because this is the society that we're living in.
Thank you.
But no, I was just going to say, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I want you guys to go out there and get these degrees. I want you to kill it. I want you to learn as much as you can. I want you to make as much money as you can if that's what you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's hard being a Black and Latino in this profession, and I do not want to lie to you and say it's easy, and I don't want to say if you work twice as hard, you're always going to get the promotion or the easy assignment. I want to keep it real, but at the end of the day, if you work hard, the one thing they can't take away from you is your skill set, and you can find a way to leverage that. You just have to be savvy. So you go in these spaces, you get the training, you get what you get, whether they mentor or sponsor you or not, you walk out of there a better lawyer. And you move on and you just keep killing it, but get the skills. So
my name is Aaron Drake. I'm a senior at the University of Alabama. My question, so you obviously have this entrepreneurial spirit. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Can you see yourself going to solo law, starting your own firm? Just what are your goals?
So I guess we're switching to personal with this next chapter, and I think this is going to be another touch point, particularly for the women in the room. So I'm 38, and for basically 10 years of my life, well, pretty much since law school, I've been extremely hardworking. But when juggling this company and this career, whatever this company, my company and my career as a lawyer, to sacrifice so much personally. And that came down to dating and what have you. Like, I had boyfriends and what have you. But the point is, in the next 5 to 10 years, I hope I'm starting my family. I hope that's in the next 1 to 2 years. And the thing about it is, it's like, we as women, particularly Black women, we work so hard because we know what we're up against. And we sometimes don't slow down to kind of focus on our personal lives. And I want to tell you, not only is it important to take care of yourself, but if you want to have kids or if you want to start a family, keep that in mind. Like, I feel like I'm in a good place now. Like, maybe things will fall into place, maybe they won't, but I feel like they will. But my takeaway was I was always making excuses. I was always like, I can't start a family because I have to get into Target, or I can't start a family because I have to like make this much money or become this or, achieve this or accomplish that. And I don't have any regrets, but I wish I would have known earlier that it's always going to be hard no matter when you do it. So we have people, and I have friends, and some of the girls that work with me, they started their family at 21. Some people start their family at 25. I might start my family at 42. It's never going to be easy. And so just keep that in mind. For some people, it's like easier to get it over earlier. For me, it's going to be crazy when I do this later. So like I said, where I see myself is professionally, we'll see where this company goes. I'll probably stick with that. But on a personal level, I want to focus more on my family life, my kids, taking people to gymnastics practice, making lunches. Yeah.
All right, we're going to have to wrap up, but I want to thank you so much for you.
I was just going to ask, what is your... just basically, I'm interested in being an entrepreneur, so what did it take to start up your own business? Like, obviously, you didn't need a business degree or whatever.
I think you just, again, lawyers are problem solvers. You figure it out. So it's like, I want to make these natural hair products, and I'm not a chemist, but guess what? I am. I'm a lawyer, so I know how to ask questions. I know how to find people. I know when people are aligned to me. Like, I know how to, make checklists. I know how to say, this is what's next. And if I want to get from point A to point B, this is how I get there. This is how I find the ingredients. This is how I find the packaging. It's just like solving a problem. And so you just bite off little chunks at a time. You don't try to say, oh, I want to be in Target, and how do I get to Target? You just say, how do I get a product in a jar? And so you start small, and you just kind of bite off pieces.
Well, thank you so much for, there's an announcement.
Hi, just going to say that if you guys want to win some of these cool TGIM prizes, you can meet us at our table back there. Just use the hashtag Black Freedom Conference. So the first 3 to do that, they'll get a prize. Thank you.
Hashtag Black Pre-Law Conference. Yes, this is our last question. Very, okay.
They're good lawyers.
Yeah.
Lawyers be like,
Yeah.
one
All
more
right.
question.
My question is, for one campus interview, what advice would you give us? Like, in order to make long range, of course, just like we're going to do your research on the company, speak clearly and boldly, but what could really advice really good?
Okay, I'm gonna repeat the question so that.
And where are you in school?
Oh, I was wondering.
Okay.
So the question is for on-campus interviews, OCIs, what can they do to prepare?
Yes, besides the normal.
Beside the norms,
Yeah.
just getting ready and doing your research.
Exactly.
Okay, what are some tips?
So I think you hit it like with the research, the being bold and confident, but like still showing the humility, having a sense of what you want to practice, even if that may change. No typos in the resume. Particularly at Big Law, a typo immediately gets you disqualified. Also, if your verb tenses are not lining up, for me, that's an immediate disqualification. And what I mean by that is, say you have like 3 jobs. One is current and the last 2 are past. And the current jobs, it should be like all active tense generally. So like, manage, coordinate, something, all the tenses should be the same. It shouldn't be like managed, coordinate, received, overview, whatever, oversee versus oversaw. It shouldn't be like, present, past, present, past. And then for everything in the past, all the tenses should be past tense. If you use periods, it should be periods everywhere. Those little things, for me, matter. And then at the end of the day, grades. You got top grades, you can walk into an interview and be like, yo. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can walk into an interview. If you have good grades and you do everything else that you describe, you're gonna be good.
I think we're getting ready to wrap up for the evening, and I just want to thank you especially
Thank you.
for being here.